Factory using mental math. Every time this method works for everything, and that way you don't have to remember any formulas or any method. You just need to know why this works. And the problem that we're going to do right now is factoring 3n squared minus 28n plus 60. So in this one here, the leading coefficient is greater than 1. So we know we have to do a little bit more work. We can't just say, what two numbers when I multiply them together give me 60, but when I add them together give me negative 28. So because there is a 3 that's a leading coefficient. So here what you want to do is you want to get the factors of 60. So the factors of 60, one of the ways that you could do it is you could start with 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. And then 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't go into it, and then 9 doesn't go into it, and then we're back to 10, so we know we got everything. This is one of the easiest ways to actually factor something. So you keep going until you get back to the lowest number. So we went 6, 7, 8, 9, and then back to 10. We know that we got all the factors. And then of course you also need the factors of 3. Well, that one's easy, so it's just 1 and 3 are the factors of 3. So what you're going to do is, I know because 3 has only those factors that one of them has to be 3n, and I know that the other one has to be n. Because when I multiply these two together, because when at the end, when I distribute, that 3n has to be multiplied times this n, which is going to give me the 3n squared. And then I know that 60, when I multiplied the last term and the last term here, that these two have to be 60. So I know that one of these combinations has to go here and the other one has to go here. So we have to just figure out which one of these combinations is going to give me negative 28 when I multiply it out. So if I were to put 1 and 60 here, well, that's going to be 3 times 60. That's 180. There's no way I could add any number or subtract 1 from it to give me 28. So I know that that doesn't work. And then I could change this and make this 60 and this 1. Well, 3 times 1 and then 60, I can't add them or subtract them. And that won't give me 28 because that's going to give me 3. If I were to put this to be negative, then that would give me a negative 3. And I know that this has to be a positive sign. So I know that this one would have to be negative if this one's negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Then this one here would have to be negative 3n minus 60n. And that doesn't give me negative 28. So we know 60 and 1 doesn't work. And then I have to keep trying all the values. So I could put in a 2 in here and then a 30 here. I could put in a 3 here and a 20 in here, and a 4 here and a 15 here. I could put in a 5 in here and a 12 in here. And then I could say, well, 36 and 5. Is there any way that I can make 36, add 5 to it, or subtract 5 from it, and get negative 28? And 36 minus 5 does not give you that. It gives you 31, or 36 plus 5. That's going to give you 41. So that doesn't work as well. I could try switching them around. I could try switching this and giving this to be 12 and this to be 5, but then that gives me 15n and 12n. So if I add those together, that's going to give me 27. If I subtract them, then that's going to give me 3 plus a negative 3, so that doesn't work. The one that does work is going to be, we could try the 60 and the 10, and that's going to give me 30 and 6. So 30 and 6 can't give me 28, but if I switch these around and say this is 10 and this is 6, well, this is going to be 18 and this is going to be 10. So 18n plus 10n, that's going to give me 28n. But I want it to be negative, and this has to be positive. And this is multiplication, this is adding. So then I do a minus on both. And therefore, then that gives me a negative 18 and a negative 10, which is going to give me a negative 28. So that is one that works, and that is factoring. And I know that seems like a long time, but the problem is that you just have to keep doing it. If you don't do it, then it becomes really difficult. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you're going to see the pattern, and the more you're going to see what's going on. Let's factor one more. So the n squared minus the 25n minus the 12. Okay, so if we're factoring that one, we have to find the factors of 7. So that's 7 and 1. And then the factors of, I'm just going to write down 1 and 7. And then the factors of 12 is going to be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and then 5 doesn't go into it. And anyway, we're done there because it's 3 and 4, so there's nothing in between 3 and 4. We're done with those factors, so this one only has 3 factors. Now 7, the only factors are 7 and 1, so therefore I could write one as 7n, and the other one is going to be 1n, and then I just have to factor what goes into these two. So I could start with 7 and 12. 7 and 12 is not going to give me something, it's going to give me a bigger number, and plus 1 or subtracting 1, it's not going to work. So I know that that's going to be one that doesn't work. 6 and 7 is going to give me another big number, 42, and then that 2, I add 2 or subtract 2 from it, and that's not going to work. And then here is going to be 4 and 3. So if I look at that, I need to decide that if it's going to be factorable, it has to work with 4 and 3. So I could either start here, or I could switch them around. It doesn't matter which one you do. You would have to test it. So I'd have 7 and 3, which gives you 21. And if I add 4, that's going to give me 25. Now the problem is do I want to add them and subtract them? Now here's where the sign comes into play. So if I do this, I'm going to get 21, and I have to add the 4, and that's going to give me 25. But it's a negative 25, so that means that I am going to have 2 negative numbers. But if I have 2 negative numbers, that's going to give me a positive 12. So even though it works, if the signs were different, this method would, where I had them would work. But because the signs are different, I cannot add them. I need to actually subtract them, because in order for me to have a negative, that means I have to have a positive and a negative. So it actually works doing the other way around. So I know that one has to be positive, and then the other one has to be negative. So the way we do that is that you're going to get 28n, and then the 3n, that's the one you really don't need it, and the 3n, and then if we actually add them, that's not going to give me the 25, but if I subtract them, that'll work. And which one do I need to be negative, the 3 or the 28? In this case, it's the 28, and I need the 3 to be positive. So I need this to be positive and that to be negative, and then I have the 7n, and then the 12 is negative, and then when I combine them, this is going to give me a negative 25n. Okay, repeat these videos as much as you need so that you could do the mental math. And I promise if you do these over and over again, this way it'll become so much easier. And this is one of the ways that you don't have to remember anything.